Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Egley. We've got a full house here. We've got Matt Stevens, Larry Smith, Kedrick Prince. Brad is waiting to get on. This is a fantastic moment as an Illini fan. We've been waiting since 2005 for the Illini to make it back to the Final Four. Larry is, I guess, you and Brad and Lauren are about the only people who in that time frame. Everybody else covering the beat maybe was doing other things. Give a little bit of perspective on the Illini in the Final Four and what your thoughts are with the Illini making it back, and you've had a chance against Louis now with Indianapolis to kind of put some perspective on it.
Well, Illinois came through here in '89 in that Final Four run and beat McNeese State and then Ball State to start that run. That went on to Minneapolis and on to Seattle when they lost to Michigan in the national semifinals. And of course, then again, you had the same thing. We had the bus trip in 05, right? And, into Chicago and St. Louis. Look, it's great. And we saw this today with, an estimated 15 to 17,000 Illinois fans there in the house. We saw this in St. Louis, where at the time the configuration the NCAA used was to only use part of the dome. So that Monday night, there was a capacity of 43,500, give or take. And we estimated at the time that Illinois fans probably made up about 35,000 of that. So I would be very surprised, judging by today's turnout, the proximity, everything we're hearing about, if tomorrow night there aren't 30,000 Illini fans there in the house. I think it's different with this time because the last two Final Fours, Illinois was a 1 seed, and they were expected to get here. This time they were a 3 seed, but I think, again, be careful for those people who are overlooking Illinois. They played as a 1 seed most of the season, had some issues with injuries and kind of struggled late against some very good competition. But they seem to put it all together right now. And for those who are overlooking Illinois, I wouldn't do that. 8 losses this year, 5 of them, 4 in overtime and 1 the buzzer beater there at home to Nebraska. It's a very competitive team that could very easily already have more than 30 wins this season if literally the ball had bounced the other way.
Kedrick, you've been covering Illini for a while. What does this mean to you as a longtime media member?
I just think it's great. It's great for the university. Brad Underwood mentioned it at one of his press conferences this week, one of probably 1,000, probably seems like to him, that this is great for the community. It's great for the state. It's just really good PR. I mean, Larry's talked to all of us a number of times what this will do for your program to be in the limelight. I can't tell you guys how many times I'm a loser like that. I got on, YouTube TV, and every time I turn YouTube TV on, there was a new podcast I never heard of with maybe 1 or 2 subscribers, but they're all talking Illinois basketball. And I think that's great. I think it's great for the university. And what I really like, Mike, you had on one of the podcasts this week, Eddie Johnson on, having some of the former players reach out to you and to all of us. And I know I can't tell you how many guys I've heard from today, from Kenny Battle to Corey Bradford, just a number of guys that are just excited. They're really, really passionate. Larry mentioned 17,000 fans being, at the arena today. The alumni, they're proud. They won a national championship. They know Illinois is starving for one. Hopefully they can pull this off. But it's just, for us, we've seen, the highs, the lows, and, I would say what Larry said again, they've lost a lot of close games. I believe was, how many games, 3 points or less. This isn't the same team. They're playing their best basketball right now. We've all heard that, and they're doing that right now. And the biggest thing for me is different. They're defending. They're defending like I've never seen before.
Matt, you've covered a lot of Illini sports, plus have SEC experience. What were your thoughts of going through this tournament and leading up to a Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, Illinois is favored tomorrow for a reason. Like on FanDuel and other places for a reason. I think everybody's kind of consistently thought Illinois was a top 10 basketball team all year, and they didn't play that way on the defensive end, relative enough to earn that trust. And Ked's right, they're doing that on the defensive end. They're cleaning up the glass the way they should, and they're doing the little things to take care of the basketball. It really hasn't been a scoring explosion in this tournament for Illinois, short of the 105-point game against Penn. It just hasn't been, and it can't be. Like in this tournament, defense is what gets you to advance, and doing the right things gets you to advance. You're not going to outscore people. And I feel like that's going to be, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The three keys for Illinois are defend, clean up the glass, and take care of the basketball, because that's what Dan Hurley on the other side has demanded. And quite frankly, UConn under Dan Hurley has the best NCAA tournament record rise of anybody in the last 5 years for a reason. They do all those things. He demands it of them. And so I think Illinois got as good a shot as any to win tomorrow night. I think the 17,000 people that did show up, and I can verify that number was about right. Today just kind of shows exactly what Illinois fans have been thriving for the last 21 years. And the idea that this team got there kind of serves like they were talented enough to. I just didn't think anybody who left Chicago in the Big Ten tournament thought this was going to happen. But it's 3 separate tournaments, and we start the third one tomorrow night, and we'll see if Illinois can win 2 more games. Because if Illinois wins 2 more games, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Brad Underwood's the GOAT. He's the best coach that's ever roamed a sideline at Illinois. And these are the legacies that you can lead if you do that. So it's a very, very exciting time for the program, but it's also a legacy building opportunity for certain people, and I think Brad Underwood's certainly one of them.
Brad, I don't know are you hooked in now?
Well, I think so.
Perfect. So put it into perspective. You, Larry, and Lauren were the only people covering the team from the last time this happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you think it's been 21 years. I mean, you kept thinking it was going to happen again, and this team, there's a team here going to do it, and a team there going to do it, and they were going to get this guy, and he was going to be the difference to take him back there. And you go year after year, and I think Brad Underwood said it best, is you just have to keep putting yourself in a position to have a chance. And as long as you give yourself a chance, then you're going to make runs, and you're going to have this run. And, that's what happened here, the Elite Eight 2 years ago, and then the Final Four this year, and maybe even more. But yeah, and what I like about this situation, it doesn't seem like it's fleeting. Like, it seems like this is going to be a consistent team for a long time. Like, I mean, Brad Underwood's not going to suddenly, as long as, Mike, you keep parking in the same spot, I don't shave, all those important things, that'll be the key to them succeeding. But no, I really think this is a program that's on the rise, and it's got a chance to continue to be a top 10 program year after year, which means you have a shot every year.
Yes, and I was relieved not to see you shaving your legs, so that was awesome. So as we look at this, Brad, maybe you can kind of start it, and we could just have a generalized discussion. With Illinois being a 3 seed, is this pretty much house money that they're playing with when they go out against UConn? How do you view that? You're muted.
It kind of is, but it's not, because you're here. This is your chance. Like, you can't look at it as house money. You have to look at it like, this is my opportunity. And I'm guaranteeing you those guys are not happy. They're not content. We all talked to them today, and they're not content with where they're at. Like, they want more, and they want to keep this going. If not for nothing else, they want to keep it going just so they have 2 more days of dealing with the media. You know what I mean? I think, and just having the fun and all the excitement, and having all the fans, chanting your names and stuff like that. So yeah, I think they want more. But it's easy to say you're content. And I think at the end of the year, if they do lose, you'll be like, all right, it was a great year. Like, this is awesome. But right now it's like, let's win the next game.
Yeah, no question. I agree with that. It's funny right now, 28 wins on the season. That's the 4th most in program history. If they get to 30, they become the 3rd team to win 30, means they've won it all, right? And I agree with Brad. One thing that I've really noticed in this tournament that has felt different, going back to really the VCU game, not so much Penn. That was a game we thought they'd win handily, and they did. The VCU game was the first game that I personally was concerned about, because quick guards have really given Illinois fits all season long. They came out not only won, but they were in control. And then they controlled Houston. And then they controlled Iowa. Yeah, I know they fell behind 12-2, but I don't know about you. I was never concerned. I didn't see them get rattled. I didn't see them get upset. And I think that's what makes this team a little different. from teams we've seen in the past. Even 2 years ago when they beat Iowa State in the Sweet 16, it was still a bit of sort of like, hey, wow, wait a minute, we just did this, right? I didn't get that feeling. Like they beat Houston and they walked off like they're supposed to beat Houston. They beat Iowa. We're supposed to beat Iowa. There's a different feel to this team. Now, does that translate to a win tomorrow night or Monday night? I mean, I don't know, and we none of us know. But there's a different feel, like Brad said, that they feel like that they're here, not just here excited to get here. I thought that was pretty interesting, even in Houston, and when they won Saturday night and they beat Iowa and they reached the Final Four. There was never there wasn't really a sense of accomplishment. It was like, yeah, we're here, but we have 2 more to win. And I think that mindset, there's a certain swagger that they're walking in to the Dome with tomorrow night. I think it's going to bode them well. We'll see what happens.
And I'll tell you what, Mike, the thing for me is that, like Larry said, they're very, very confident, and this team looks really different. And the thing is, everybody in the Final Four is good. So there's no house money, at least from my eyes. They're all there. All the teams are good. Every one of the teams that are there, they could all win it. I mean, there's so much talk about why Illinois can win, or UConn, and we know the heavyweights on the other side with Michigan and Arizona. But the one thing I will tell you that doesn't matter to me, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Everybody's talking about this game being in Indianapolis, and I don't think it matters. And I'll tell you why. Illinois played Houston in Texas, and it didn't matter because they beat them. So it doesn't matter. Right now, everybody's good. So you're playing on your home court. They were 2 miles away from their campus, and I mean, Champaign's 124 miles, 125 miles from Indianapolis. That doesn't matter. They can have all the fans they want because Houston did have those fans, and Illinois did beat them. So the way I look at it, you have to be fundamentally sound. And they do. This is so weird. Usually for me, I can't speak for you guys, I'm always thinking, okay, the road's going to come to an end. This is over. I'm not saying it because Larry said it. I've done other podcasts, 3 of them today, and I can tell you, I said the same thing. I was not nervous when they were down to Iowa. I wasn't nervous when they played Houston. They don't make mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. They don't do typical Illinois things, I guess. That's probably why I see good things happening from them. And we can all talk about how great Keaton Wagler is. It all starts with him. That dude just doesn't panic. He doesn't freak out and throw the ball all over the court. You can bet Hurley's going to give him every look in the world possible. He's seen it. So that's, to me, why everybody's equal. And I do love the fact that they're hungry.
Matt?
Yeah, I wasn't nervous in Iowa because I knew the next day I was going to have to go through TSA in Houston no matter what. So, I didn't care. I was more worried about that than the ball game I was watching in front of me. I've said it to a bunch of people all week since I got here in Indianapolis. I don't think there's a result tomorrow night that's going to make Illini fans angry. I think losing to UConn is going to be a disappointing thing if it happens. Losing in the national championship game is going to be a disappointing thing if it happens. But I don't think there's a result where I'm going to want to shut my laptop and not deal with IlliniGuys subscribers for a couple of days. I just don't think the anger is going to be there. I think there's too much joy and happiness and satisfaction with where Illinois has come so far in this month of March, now that we're into April, to override whatever could happen tomorrow night. And I do think the fact that, there were 17,000 people that got to go to a Final Four open practice, probably that didn't think that was maybe going to happen in their lifetime. I've talked to people that literally didn't think this was going to happen again in their lifetime. So the fact that Illinois is going to play in the Final Four again, I think is just an overriding joy, no matter what the result is. If we're talking about Illini fans' mindset going into Saturday night. And yeah, Kat, I agree with you, but I do think that this is a really cool thing for the program that Illinois gets to play a Final Four. If this was in San Antonio, I don't know if it would be as cool. If this was in Dallas, I don't know if it would be as cool. If it was in Orlando or, wherever, or Los Angeles, I don't think this would be as cool. I think when Indianapolis is the site and you've got 2 guys, quite honestly, from Indiana on your roster, and Ben Hummerkaus and Jake Davis, who've circled this the whole year and said, hey, we want to get here. And then you've got so many stories that needed to be told, whether it's Keaton Wagler, whether it's Andrei Stojakovic, whether it's the Avicic twins, all of them, they're going to get told in Indianapolis because this team has been followed in Midwest country all year long. I think it's really, really cool. And I think that to see all the signage, to see all the stuff, in the Marriott that Illinois is staying in, right next to the arena. All of this stuff for them to get to play in a football. I've never covered a basketball game in a football stadium before. I don't think any of these guys on this roster have ever played a basketball game in a football stadium before. So all of these things get to really, really happen, but they get to happen in Big Ten country, and I think it's what makes it cool, especially for this team and this group and this fan base. So. No matter what the result is, I think Illinois fans are going to be satisfied because Brad Underwood starts the year with, we have one objective, come hell or high water, we're putting up a banner in State Farm Center, and they put up Final Four banners in State Farm Center last time I checked. So check that box off. I mean, I think this is going to be a really cool experience on Saturday night.
So we've talked for a long time. Larry's kind of led this in terms of how important it is to make it to the Sweet 16. So you get this, and then we have another now monument where you get to the Final Four, gives you even more, attention for the program. Brad, obviously today there was a huge commitment. What kind of week do you think this has been for the Illini, and just how important is it to see that not only they're in the Final Four, but maybe unlike the Weber era, that they struggled to capitalize on it. And of course, the Henson era was hit by the probation. But what does it mean for this program to not only get to the Final Four, but to pull in a top 20 recruit while you're there?
I mean, it just, trust me, when I tell you this, that Jeff Alexander was over the moon when they got the call about Quentin Coleman. Brad Underwood was over the moon. Actually had a young guy from the Daily Line who asked him to talk about Quentin Coleman today, and it was kind of funny because he can't talk about it. He said, "Do you have anything to say about it?" No. So that was the answer. But no, this is what happens. Larry's always talking about make the Sweet 16, make the second weekend, you become relevant, right? This is the result of that, and this is where they made it in 2005, and we talked about how the recruiting, and maybe if Eric Gordon is still there and things like that, it's different. But the recruiting didn't kick off. And what I like about this is they're just rolling. Like I know we cover recruiting and we give all those, the tidbits and the players, talk about the players they have. But at the end of the day, you just feel like even if they don't get the guy they want at first, the next guy's going to be really good. And so I think it's really impressive. I think that Quentin Coleman is one of my favorite recruits that Illinois has gotten because he is such a tremendous fit for the way Illinois plays. And we'll have a story next week from Neil Ganta talking about the matrix they use to come over with this stuff. But I can't imagine a guy who's a better fit than him than Quentin Coleman, because his ability to shoot the ball, positional size, 6'4" as a point guard, long arms. He has athleticism. He's a complete gym rat, all those things. So yeah, this is pretty fun, and I think it's going to keep going.
I'll tell you what, for me, you asked about how big of a commitment this is, and one of the reasons we always tell you to subscribe to IlliniGuys. I got really lucky enough to get some really good feedback about how big this commitment is, and I'll tell you what's unique. There's another gentleman out there. His name is Brady Pettigrew, who is a 6'3" guard out of Romeoville. So, out of Bolingbrook. And one of the things I talked to him about today, because Illinois and Michigan are in his final. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Did you see who Illinois got today? And what are your thoughts on that? And here's what's really cool, fellas. He wasn't surprised. He was like, why are you surprised? He said, they're on my list, and so is Michigan. Illinois basketball is where people are supposed to be. It's okay to want to go to school there. It's okay now for people to recognize how good this our state university is. And I know Illinois is going after him, so I was kind of trying to tease him a little bit to get some information, who you're rooting for. Is Illinois, Michigan? Because from what I understand, Brad, I don't know if you or Matt have heard the same thing, but I know those are there's a lot of schools after him, but in the end, those may be the two final schools to pursue him, and he's going to have an opportunity this weekend to watch both of those teams play in the Final Four. So, Mike, to answer your question, this is going above and beyond. I mean, you got to strike while the iron's hot, and unfortunately, Coach Bruce Weber didn't do that. This group is doing it. I mean, and they're just for the people out there listening to this podcast, I tell you, get on your YouTube video and you Google, Coleman. I'm gonna tell you, he's a highlight film. He's a perfect example. Look, he looks like a little bit a smaller version of Keaton Wagler, but much more athleticism.
To kind of follow up with what you guys are talking about, and you guys have alluded to it, and we've all talked about on our radio show, our weekly radio show, the Sports Spectacular, that's all the Midwest. Coming from a position of being a national reporter, and when you're covering the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and the Final Four, it's one thing when you're getting in the tournament, you're really just talking just who's won or lost, and that's it. When you get into the Sweet 16, you have only 16 teams to talk about, and you're assigned to a city where there's only 4 teams. You really begin to dig deeper into the kind of the stories that kind of go beyond the court. And that's what we're seeing right now with Illinois. The Wogglers were in People magazine. Wall Street Journal did a story on the Balkan players. Just saw CNN did a story on Cam Crocker and his personal situation. Obviously, all the stuff that we do with the Illini guys, but from the national perspective, this is where you become a household name. It's where you can already see it right now from the Elite Eight 2 years ago that Illinois ran. When you get to the Sweet 16, your name is listed in the preseason top 25, which, let's face it, in the era of the transfer portal and NIL, that's really more just a sign of respect than anything. I mean, because you don't know, sometimes you don't have players on your roster, and yet you're in the top 10. It's how your brand is made. It's how your name gets out there. We've seen Illinois, not only the Elite Eight, but now 4 straight years playing in made-for-TV games at Madison Square Garden, playing in neutral site games in Chicago and Birmingham and Kansas City, obviously St. Louis. And all this comes together where now, like you said, you've got a Quentin Coleman saying, I want to go here. You've got a Brady Pettigrew saying, of course he wants to go there. So do I. And Brad, as you've mentioned, and Ken, I know you guys are about to get busy next week, the transfer portal. We're going to see a lot more of that. Illinois now officially is a brand. And let me just say this. If Illinois can win 2 games this week in Indianapolis, strap in. Because Illinois will be, if you think Indiana football as a national champion is a big deal, Illinois basketball as a national champion will even supersede that. That's my prediction.
That's a big prediction. Matt, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I'd really like to see Illinois win a national championship too. That'd be kind of cool to cover. I don't think it's as oh my God, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime as Indiana football winning a national championship. I can tell you that. I think John Mellencamp and Kurt Cignetti are pretty much the only people that ever probably, 2 or 3 years ago thought that Indiana was going to win a national championship in football. I think if Illinois wins 2 more games, look, there's a statue in front of State Farm Center of Brad Underwood. He's the GOAT. He's the best that's ever done it. They'll do something for him. They ought to, because the guy that he's passing his name's on the floor. So at that point, what's happening with Illinois basketball right now really feels like the late 80s when Illinois went to a Final Four and then suddenly started to garner national, buzz in terms of recruiting. You're getting, I just remember, I swear to God, I remember Marcus Liberty, the number 1 ranked recruit in the country, coming off the bench for Illinois. And he was the number 1 ranked recruit playing for Sonny Cox at Martin Luther King High School in Chicago. And he was coming off the bench for Illinois. I remember that being the thing. So I think the buzz that's happening is rivaling when I was a very, very small child in the late 80s. And it's really exciting to see. I'm also excited to see. I'm interested to see where this goes. What happens post Keaton Wagler era. Because his banner, his jersey is going to go up at State Farm Center pretty soon too. And you just kind of wonder, how did Illinois go from the Io era, the Io and Kofi era, to the Terrence Shannon era, to now the Keaton Wagler era, to how does it go from there? And I think if there's anybody that has a plan for that, it's Brad Underwood and the people behind him that have a plan for that. And I'm pretty interested to see how this could go. But Illinois is going to win 2 more games this weekend to do that. And I think that's taking the next step as a program, is winning that third, 4-team tournament. They've won 2 of them. Now they need to win. They need to win one more, and I think that's something that I've never seen. I'm 41 years old, and like so it's if that national championship banner goes up at State Farm Center, I think it transforms the way that people talk about the program probably until Brad Underwood's dead. So like that's where your legacy stuff comes into play, and what we're talking about this weekend with 2 games.
Mike, you notice how he's always throwing in our face how young he is. Don't pay attention to that, buddy.
Yeah, that's age. That's ageism, and it's really a hard
Want
thing
to talk
to
about
deal
the
with.
last time Illinois was in the Final Four and I was an undergrad in college? Do we want to do that, or what do we want to do
so
here?
Scary! Wow. Oh, I had gray hair back there too.
Hey, I was an undergrad in college when the Flying Illini played. Yeah, so if we're looking at this game and myself, I look at the keys is they have to play. The Illini need to play with that defensive connectedness. I think they did an amazing job the first half at Houston, second half at Iowa. If they can put together 4 halves like that, as good as Michigan is, as good as anyone is, Illinois puts themselves in a position to win. Brad, what are your keys to this game against UConn tomorrow?
Well, Danny Hurley called the rebounding battle World War III, quote. Brad Underwood said it's going to be a rock fight. I think there was a Pizza Hut parking lot mentioned, all those fun things. So rebounding might be important. I could say. I think rebounding is the key. I think Illinois not turning the ball over against the UConn pressure. And then you're, the wild card is always like, how do they shoot the ball? I mean, it's so hard to win if you don't make shots. And so I think that's but that's a wild card. And now talking to the players, I asked everyone today about shooting, and the only one who was really like kind of open about it was Keaton. And he said, yeah, that the first few shots were kind of weird, but then you just adjust and it's fine. And it doesn't make any difference. Now, so it'll be interesting to see, if that's true. And if the deep backgrounds and things from the dome matter, you know what I mean? So I think that's going to be an interesting test. I know that, Z, I don't know if Z knew they were in a dome. He just kind of was like, I don't know, maybe it could hurt. I don't know. He was just kind of, they don't know. I mean, and that's the great part about these guys. They're just out living their best life. You know what I mean? They're just going through it and they expect shots to go in and they aren't worried about the shooting background and stuff. And I thought they shot the ball well in practice today that we watched. So, yeah, I don't know. But that's always the wild card. If somebody gets hot from 3, sometimes you just lose because the other team gets hot. And that could be UConn. If Illinois gets hot, to be Illinois if UConn gets hot. The other thing that's going to be interesting is Duke gave UConn serious problems with their length. UConn really struggled with the length when they contested shots. And now Illinois has a Stojakovic that is ready to play defense. I think that could be a key, the Illinois length. If they can force them to take those tough twos contested and then rebound the ball, they're going to win. So I had a stat. I'll have a stat in my preview. I'll give you a thing. When UConn grabs, what is it, like less than 25% of their misses or something like that, I have it exactly. They're 1-3. When Illinois doesn't allow offensive rebounds, they're like something like, I want to say when they don't get allow the opponent to get like 30% of the rebounds, they're like 19-0. So wow. Rebounding is going to be a huge part of this game. And so I can't really, those are the best stats I can give you.
Larry, you got any thoughts on that? You've been kind of mulling this over too.
Yeah, I think Brad and I'm looking at Brad's playbook because I was going to say the same thing. There are 2 things I've been wanting Illinois to do here in the back half of the season. One was stop relying on the 3. If the 3s aren't falling, you guys know I've put this on the board. I put it in stories. I've said it on radio. If the 3s aren't falling, you got to have a plan B. Okay, you can't keep shooting 3s like we saw against Duke last year and go 2 for 26. And we were falling into that to the end of the season. They were not a good three-point shooting team in the final 2 or 3 weeks, and reasons why, whatever. they weren't good against Iowa, but the difference was they weren't relying on the three. They tried threes, but they went inside. And that leads to the second thing that Brad was talking about. All year, Illinois talk about being the tallest team in the country, but in my opinion, they didn't play like it. We're now seeing that not only on defense, as Brad talked about, where Duke did cause them a lot of problems, and I think Illinois can do the same thing. They caused Houston problems. They called Iowa problems. We remember all the crazy threes Iowa hit in the second half. Iowa made 1 2-point shot in the final 20 minutes of that game. I mean, it was insane what the Illinois defense did. And when you consider that they fell behind 12-2, do the math, it was even more impressive what they did in that game. What I love right now is that they're actually going more inside. We saw earlier this season that Boswell drove. Now it's Stojakovic instant offense off the bench with his drives. We've seen Tommy get inside and do things. Merkovic clean up offensive rebounds. Those two things I think are the big difference, is actually using your length to your advantage, because you have it on both ends of the court. And then again, like you said, the rebounding, the defensive, just the harassment of the other teams. And that's why I give Illinois a good shot to win this game tomorrow night.
Kid.
Mike, you guys aren't going to be surprised when I say this, but you got to say it anyway. I agree with Larry and I agree with Brad. The rebounding is going to be tough, but I don't want the officials to take Illinois' aggressiveness away. They've done a really good job of letting them play a little bit. There was a few ticky-tack calls in the Iowa game. The reason I'm saying that, Illinois has matched every team's physicality in this tournament. They've done a really good job of that. They haven't backed down. And, one of our lovely Illini guys, Marcus Griffin, we've preached all year about not jacking up so many threes. And if you guys think about it, nobody's talking about it anymore. We've all heard the same song and dance. The tallest basketball team in the year, the number one efficiency offense, this year, and they love to shoot threes. We haven't heard a lot of the three-point shooting, that you've heard in the past in this tournament. For me, other than the rebounding and the lovely guys in stripes, I think the key to the game is going to be David Merkovic and Thomas Slav, and I honestly believe Andre Stojakovic. Because I don't know what they're going to shoot like, fellas, in those arenas. They do make a difference. That's why it was brought up by a lot of media people. If you've never seen it, it is hard shooting in those arenas. And somebody gave a statistic. The numbers aren't really good for any team that's been shooting in those domes since then, number one. But Illinois is taking the ball to the basket. Keaton Walker does it. Merkovic does it. Tommy's now starting to go to the post. And I don't think there's a player within the team framework of the team that can guard Andre Stojakovic one-on-one right now. I don't care. You can look at Michigan. You can look at Arizona. The way they're utilizing him to get to that basket right now, he is really effective. And we've done so many podcasts where people are like, pass the ball, and which is fine. You have to do that. But right now, he gives them something that they haven't had all year, along with guarding. So I would be very surprised, fellas, if Keaton Walker had an 18-point night. I think they're going to make it tough for him. He can't turn the ball over, which he doesn't typically do. His supporting cast is going to have to be big, and I don't think jacking up threes is going to be the answer.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm most interested in, if you were talking about an X's and O's matchup, okay, how is Luke Murray going to try to get Alex Caravan open? Because you know that they're going to try to run him off of a whole bunch of screens and try to get him open for outside shots. How is Luke Murray, who just took the Boston College head coaching job, going to draw it up to try to get his wings open looks against this Illinois defense? And then how is Cam Crocker going to try to defend them? Because Brad and Sturdy can verify this. I've heard it for the last 2 days inside that locker room of Illinois. They haven't watched 1 second of the Black Friday game against UConn. Not 1 second. They won't watch it. It does not matter to them. They can't learn anything from it. They're not going to do it. And not only can they not learn anything from an offensive standpoint, we've all talked about how, Keaton Wagler is different now, and Andre Stojakovic is different now, and probably David is probably different now. That's all offense. And long after the Black Friday game, I believe Brad Underwood handed the car keys of the defense over to Cam Crocker and said, "Here, this is yours. I don't know what we're doing wrong, but here it is. You handle it." And I think tomorrow night he's going to get an opportunity against Luke Murray's offense to kind of cement what he's done throughout the entire month of March, which is use that length, use that ability to get into those passing lanes, get in those gaps, and really shut down everybody on defense. He's going to have the opportunity again against UConn to do that. And if they do that and they clean up the glass, Illinois is favored for a reason. And I think they win the basketball game. I think Illinois, if they defend and if they rebound at an elite level, I don't think they have to shoot it very well to win the basketball game. I'll just say that. And so I think if you're looking at it from an X's and O's standpoint, if this, if we're doing the coordinator thing like we do in football a lot, like now we're doing that in basketball, I think Luke Murray versus Cam Crocker is definitely an X's and O's matchup that I think could be a win or a loss for either team. And it'll be interesting to see what plan they come up with to try to get, easy buckets in terms of UConn and shutting down UConn's offense if you're talking about Cam Crocker.
Hey, are you guys surprised that Illinois is favored? I mean, does that surprise you just a little bit?
It's surprised. Oh, Brad, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say no, just because so much of that is based on the analytical model, at least to start. And then once the money starts flowing, and Illinois is favored on every analytical model. So when you look at every predictive, whether it's Ken Palm, Torvik, whatever you want to say, they're in their favor. And honestly, I think people still look at UConn a little bit like that they shouldn't be here. It took like kind of a miracle for them to get here. Now, they could have said that about Illinois in the Final Four in 2005 too, and they were still the favorite. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just they look at the predictive models and then they start a line and then they see where the money flows. And I'm interested that it hasn't changed. In fact, I think I saw the Illinois become a bigger favorite. Maybe that's just they're all crazy and throwing money on it. But I think it went from like 1.5 to 2.5 at one point. I don't know where it's at right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say similar. To me, again, goes back to the respect factor that I think, if you're surprised, it's because you're used to Illinois being the other team, right? I mean, we're just programs. And so like, wait, we're the one? We're the chosen to go to Monday night? It doesn't happen. But it goes back to what Brad was saying, and I agree with that the analytics all are there. Don't ignore what your eyes see. This is a team that, look, there's only one team out of these four that's held their last three opponents to under 60 points. That's Illinois. We went into this tournament talking about the offensive juggernaut that they are. And I wrote on IlliniGuys.com, they've become a defensive Gestapo. So to me, it says that it's a respect factor that everyone, to Brad's point, look at the numbers saying, no, the numbers say it should be Illinois as a favorite.
Yeah, I found I was surprised with Hurley's track record in the NCAA that, almost anybody's favored over them. But, and I will say one thing, they certainly proved they deserve to be here when you can come back 19 points on Duke and hang the L on them, which while I'm not a huge Duke fan, it was very enjoyable to watch. So from that standpoint, I was happy with that. Brad, if you had to pick somebody that you think might be the glue guy or the guy that makes the big play tomorrow night, and I know this is more of a gut feel than it is an analytical, but now you've talked to everybody, you've been in the locker room, you've went back and forth with them. Is there anybody that you're thinking like right now just might be that ace in the hole for Brad Underwood and the Illini?
I think an interesting one for me is he hasn't been very good offensively during the tournament, but I feel like if Tomislav creates space by draining some threes, I think Kylan Boswell can get to the rim and physically get to the rim against these guys. I really do. I think that you might be surprised with his game going into this game. I don't know why. That's my gut feeling, is that he steps up, and I'm not saying he's going to score 30 points, but I think we might see a 15-point game from Kylan, and just kind of out of the blue, because I think they're going to try and get the ball out of Wagler's hands and Merkovic's hands. I don't think they want those guys creating.
Larry?
Yeah, I was going to say, remember, Boswell scored 25 against him in New York back on Black Friday. Given it's a different team, there's no question. But I think you're right. I think that, that's the other X factor here, is that if all the other things happen, like you said, to see Tomislav hit some threes and hit those couple of shots against in Houston, open things up. And we've seen Stojakovic drive and do that. We've not seen that much from Boswell because it hasn't been required. But I agree with Brad that I think he could be the X factor here. We expect Wagler to go for 16, 17 points and to do what he does, right? We expect Merkovich to go up and get 14 and 8. If Tomislav can do a couple things, we expect Stojakovic to come and get his. Boswell's the X factor.
Kid?
For me, I'm sorry, I think the X factor is going to be Tommy. Tommy, from the very first tip-off against Penn, he has looked different. He didn't look like me right now. He went out to go get rebounds. He jumped. He blocked shots. He's looking to score. He looks totally different. Even in the press conference, you can hear him talk about the sense of urgency. He just looks different to me. I think Kylan wouldn't be able, for me personally, I think he's kind of accepted the role of what's happening right now. He's not forced anything. There's been a couple of times where I thought he shot shots that he probably shouldn't have shot. Coaches, you can see them cringe a little bit. So I don't know if he'll be that guy tomorrow. But to me, if Tommy can stay out of foul trouble and he can guard Reese in the post, I think that is huge. And if he can knock down a couple of threes, and then if shots don't happen to fall, he could be that low post guy. He is really, really effective, I think, in this tournament. It's the best I think he's played a 3-game stretch, fellas, all season.
Matt?
Come on, guys. I've been a Kylan Boswell guy all year. I'm not going to change now. I think the Kylan Boswell versus Malachi Smith matchup is whoever wins the basketball game. Whoever has a better game, that team's going to win. And I think if you're looking at it from that perspective, I'll go to war with Kylan Boswell, 100 times out of 100. And he's been my guy all year. He's been my guy the last 2 years. He's the natural veteran leader of this ball club. And I think if he plays well on Saturday, they'll advance. And if he doesn't, in games where he doesn't, and I'm not just talking about from offense perspective, of all the things, if he's able to, have Keaton save some energy by being able to run the team for a little bit, if he's able to save David some energy by being able to run the team a little bit, if he's able to defend Malachi Smith the way that he's supposed to, Illinois will advance. If he doesn't do those things, I think UConn advances. So yeah, Bam's my guy. He's the guy that I think is going to make this go to Monday night or not.
Let me throw one other thing too. I'm really watching for it. I've mentioned this to you guys as we were talking at the Dome today during all of our work for IlliniGuys. One thing I noticed as well, we all talked about what this team would look like if you get out of the Big Ten and the refereeing with the clutching and grabbing and holding and pushing down and shoving. And we saw it. We kind of felt it was wearing on Wagler there late in the season. If you've noticed, every game here so far, there's been a play or two early on in the game where somebody defending Wagler gets called for a foul. And I think that has changed the flow of the game in terms of if you're the opposing coach, you're going to get up on him, like you said, and Hurley's going to do the same thing tomorrow night. That's what you would do. Any coach would do that. But when you get a point guard that's called for a foul in the first 3 or 4 minutes against your All-American you're going up against, you have to change your approach because you don't want your starting point guard to be saddled with 2 fouls in the first 10 minutes of the game. I think it's changed things. It's allowed Keaton to be Keaton. It's allowed this offense to flow in a different way. It's changed the complex of these games because he's not getting beat. There are some calls that are missed, but that will happen. But nothing like in the Big Ten. The Keaton we're seeing now is the Keaton that we saw against Nebraska, against Tennessee, against Purdue, obviously. And I think that's something I'm watching for as well. Will the referees come out? If there's some clutching and grabbing early, if they call it, will that change the complexion of the game again?
And one quick thing I wanted to throw in here for those of you who are in Indianapolis enjoying the Final Four, tomorrow at Hooters at 25 Georgia Street, we will be there from 2 to 4 p.m. Try to stop by and say hi. We're just going to be having a good time. Guys are just going to be getting something to eat and enjoying just meeting some of the subscribers and some of the fans. If you have a chance, come on out. We know there's going to be a ton of Illini there. Show the orange and blue early and then get ready and revved up for the game. So Hooters at 2 to 4 p.m. on 25 Georgia Street. So wrapping this thing up, Brad, can you give us a little bit of a preview on Quentin Coleman? You know, what you've seen on film and a little bit of your thoughts on him, because I know there's a lot of Illini fans who are pretty excited about it. We talked about him peripherally. Maybe just a little bit more about what you've seen and what maybe Illini fans can expect. I do think that let's not put him into he's going to be the next Keaton Wagler, because I'm not certain that anybody is going to exceed expectations to the level Keaton did. And I'm not certain that's fair to put on any player, regardless of how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, you're expecting to be a second-team All-American if you say he's going to be Keaton Wagler. I think that's high ambition as a freshman for every single player, right? I don't care, maybe if you're Cooper Flagg, wouldn't have been. But no, the way I look at Quentin Coleman is this. He is an elite shooter, using a Brad Underwood phrase. Elite. 50% from three this year, 90% from the line. This dude can shoot the ball. The other thing is, in the state championship game in Missouri, he had 5 or 6 dunks. He's 6'4". He's extremely long, and he's got bounce. He's got that quickness. His step back is deadly, but he's also able to get the rim. He's an excellent finisher. Now, so let's say that you don't think he's gonna be he doesn't turn into Wagler, because saying he's not doesn't turn in. But if he can score like 10 points a game, 12 points a game, and be like a point guard and make shots, that's awesome. But here's the thing. If he's more than that, fantastic. But worst case scenario, this dude can defend and he can knock down shots. And that's the worst case scenario for him next year. And so I love this commitment. I think he's got all kinds of stuff to his game. He's a great passer. He rebounds the ball extremely well. He does everything. I mean, it would not shock me to see him have a legit triple-double next year. That's the kind of talent we're talking about. But the great part for him is if, as expected, they return Merkovich, he have to be 1A. He can be 1B or 2B, whatever. So it's pretty, I'm very excited about him, as you can probably tell.
Ked, you spend a lot of time looking at film. What are your thoughts on Quentin?
Brad's been nice. I'm fired up, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. This kid is a scorer. I'm just going to tell you, the staff is extremely excited. You're out there practicing the day in front of 17,000, then it becomes a national news story that you sign one of the best high-scoring guards in the country. This kid can put the ball in the basket, and I like the class. We're taught, you're asking about Coleman, but Lucas Murillo is another stud who's another top 60 recruit. You look at Larry's talked about this a number of times, and I'm telling you, Illinois is not going backwards. They're just not. You got Keaton Wagler, who was special this year. You have guys that you put in the NBA with Ayo Dosunmu and Terrence Shannon. You've had All-Americans under Brad Underwood, and now you're getting guys. You're beating out some of the better competition. When I look at recruiting today, I'm looking at who else are pursuing these kids. Are they conventional offers, or there's teams that are actually trying to get these kids? And I'm gonna tell you, Dennis Gates did all he could. I'm talking everything he could, probably legally, to land this kid. Texas Tech laid down everything to get this kid. But the one thing that Missouri didn't have and Texas Tech didn't have is a Final Four trophy, a fan base that's excited right now, and they're hot. And I'm going to tell you, Ethan Brown's another guy that Brad Sturdy and I both love. This kid is going to be a sleeper. I have a friend who coaches in Missouri at a Division II school who's friends with Jeff Alexander. I'm telling you right now, Dennis Gates was mad that Illinois got this kid. This kid's going to be a steal. There's 3 kids that we just talked about, and we know Illinois is a master at getting kids out of the transfer portal. This isn't a one-and-done situation. They're going to be loaded again, especially if the young kids pan out. And on paper, they look really, really good, Mike.
Okay, that's awesome. So give people a little bit of perspective on that. Larry, how about some final thoughts from you on just perspective on this game as we kind of start to wrap the show up here?
Brad Underwood says that he told the guys, and by the way, if you hadn't seen the hype video yet, that Illinois basketball, that their PR people put out on social media, you got to see it. My son called me up and said, "Man, Dad, you got to watch this. I'm so pumped for this weekend." And I got the same way. It starts with the loss against Wisconsin and Chicago, and Brad Underwood saying, "If you don't believe we can make a run in March, then don't even get on the bus." And to take it from there, and he said, "You want to erase the taste of this loss? Go get the Final Four." And here they are. Brad Underwood has been telling his players, "Let it rip." I'm going to tell Illini Nation to enjoy this. It's been 21 years, but here's the thing. Parity is here in college basketball. There have been 20 different teams reach the Final Four this decade. That's second only to the start of the 1940s when the NCAA tournament was in its infancy. You don't have Kentucky. Listen, Kentucky would love to be Illinois right now in basketball. Let that sink in for a moment. You don't have North Carolina here. They're looking for
and football.
And football. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brad. Enjoy this moment. Listen, 5 years ago, last time the Final Four was here, Baylor cut down the nets. Since then, Baylor's missed the second weekend 4 straight years. This year, they missed the tournament in completely. That's, as like Ken said, that's not going to happen here at Illinois. They're going to be a player on the major stage for years to come. But enjoy this time. Enjoy this moment. There are so many teams that would like to be here, fan bases, and we really think it's the beginning of something special.
Yeah, Matt, quick wrap up from you.
Again, I just think that this is legacy time for Illinois basketball. It's legacy time for Brad Underwood. It's legacy time for Keaton Wagler. I mean, his jersey's already going to go up there, but now if you want to put Keaton Wagler on the Mount Rushmore of Illinois basketball players, win 2 more games. Like, do something that nobody has ever seen. I mean, God knows Lauren Tate's going to outlive us all. I truly believe that. The man's an alien, but like, he's never seen a national championship at Illinois. Like, Lord knows none of us on this dais has seen a national championship at Illinois. So you want to do something if you're Brad Underwood. You want to do something if you're Keaton Wagler. You want to do something if you're David Mirkovic, you know, a 20-year-old who's only been in America for what, 8, 12, 14, 16 months. Like you want to do something cool, like win 2 more games. And it starts on Saturday night. But I think this is legacy time for Illinois basketball. And it hasn't been that way in 21 years. And we're going to see if they can pull this off. And if they can, great. And if they can't, it's still been a really, really special season in Illinois and Champaign-Urbana and for this Brad Underwood program. And I'm excited to see what comes on Saturday night and see if we can get to Monday night. Because if they can get to Monday night, who knows what could happen. But I'm also interested in, you know, trying to piece this together if they win on Saturday night, because I do get the sense, and it hasn't been discussed on this yet in 52 minutes, but I do get the sense that there's an opening act and there's a primetime showing at 8:00, and Illinois is in the opening act. And we've seen Final Fours like this where that has happened. And the team that's been in the opening act has won 2 games and won the national championship. But it feels like, from a national narrative standpoint, that the game starting at about 8:30 between Michigan and Arizona is the de facto national championship game. And I'm interested to see if whoever wins on Saturday night in the 5:30 game, the Illinois UConn game, can use that to their advantage and just say, hey, apparently we're just not even supposed to be here, so we might as well just go win it. And so I'm fascinated by how that dynamic could end up on Monday night, and I'll even be more fascinated if I'm still here covering Illinois to do it. But like I said, this is legacy time for Illinois basketball, and it hasn't been that way for 2 decades.
Can I add one more thing, Matt, if you could? 20 years ago, the Final Four was in Indianapolis at the old RCA Dome. There was a 3 seed, the Florida Gators, that nobody gave any thought that they could come in and win the championship. And they did. And they beat a legendary team in UCLA. So don't let people say, oh, they're only a 3 seed. It doesn't matter. You're here. Like everyone said, you win 2 games, you're the champion. You have every chance to get it done.
Yeah, and of course, as I'm reading the comments, there's going to be some nudity if Illinois wins the title. So I still want them to win, but I don't think I want to be exposed to these naked guys streaking around. Ken, speaking of naked guys streaking around, what are your final comments?
Well, I want to be one of those people because I probably will be.
Oh,
Just
boy.
kidding.
I'm out.
Here's the deal.
I'm out.
No, you're not. You gotta watch like everybody else. You gotta be punished like everyone else. No, listen. No, seriously, I'm just enjoying the ride. I just don't. I can't. I feel like a kid that needs medication or something. I can't focus. I really cannot focus. I want to read everything. I want to watch everything. I'm just sitting here and I'm trying to absorb. Years ago when social media wasn't what it is today, you have to work your butt off to get any information, and it's all there. And Matt and Larry and Mike and Brad, you guys have done a tremendous job just putting out tons of content. So I'm going to stroke the site. You guys should come to the site because I can't even keep up with that because there's so many things out there. But this is great. You don't get this opportunity very often. I will say this, we know Coach Underwood's been to the tournament, 6, 7 straight years, I believe. Illinois is not going to go anywhere, like I mentioned and Larry mentioned. Like we've all mentioned that. You got an opportunity, so go win it. You only have to be good. For me, my philosophy has been this is not going to change. You have to be good for one day. For 40 minutes, you have to be better than the other team, regardless of how that gets done. I still believe that. And, somebody can have an out-of-pocket performance. We've seen that with Keaton Wagler when you have 46 against Purdue. That could happen tomorrow night. Who that could be, we have no idea. But no matter what happens, I'm happy for the fans, seeing them show out, going to the grocery stores, seeing people with Illinois gear. I went to the golf course today in Iowa, and I saw 7 Illinois bags. What the hell was that? That's what I'm talking about. In the state of Iowa, I go check out at the golf course, and I have my Illinois gear on, and when I walk out the door, the guy yells, "Go Hawks!" So this is great.
That's a good one, and of course, we've got the opportunity for the Illini to make some history, which would be fantastic. Brad, take it home on the final comments here before we wrap this up.
No, I think it's been a great week. Obviously, tons of content. We've got great stuff in Illini Guys. It's been a great week for the Illini program with the exposure, the recruiting. And we're just getting heated up with after this. Win a national title, then head into Portal Combat, and let's roll, baby.
Yeah, that's the part that it gets invaluable to be a member of Illini Guys when all those rumors are going on. Ken and Brad tend to be the ones who hear them, and it's always fun to have an idea of what's going to happen a little bit before it does. So again, for those people tomorrow, we'll be at the Hooters here in Indianapolis, 25 Georgia Street. Yes, I suggested it because they have the greatest buffalo chicken breast sandwich in the world. I don't care what restaurant you go to. That's the only thing they make at Hooters that's any good, but it's spectacular. So I will be dining there. I enjoy that. So get as many people there as we can. We want to have fun. We want to take it over for the Illini. So if you've got some time, come down, say hi. We'd love to meet all the fans and certainly make a big presence for the Illini out there in Indianapolis and get primed and ready to go for the game. We will be on after the game. We are going to have to see just exactly how we're going to do that. So we don't know the time yet. And the obstacle is the internet coverage everywhere in that building is horrific. So we may have to actually, cover the locker room, get out, get somewhere where we can talk so that people can hear it. But we will have a podcast. We will let you know via X, via IlliniGuys.com, et cetera, on when that will start. But that will be a crazy one, and we are looking forward to a fantastic showing by the Illini. Until we see you again, folks, go Illini.